Ever been to a concert where all the lineups are boring as hell, and when you're just about to give up and leave, one underdog performer takes the stage and blows your mind? That is the legacy of the Buick GNX. Just when muscle cars were losing their spark, this beast entered the scene, and not only did it turn heads, it made history and sealed a place in the supercar world as the demon of the 80s. At a time when even the big names could no longer hold up the supercar glamour, this muscle car came into the scene and climbed up the ladder of fierceness without even trying too much. This is the story of the Buick GNX. The name GNX should be familiar to modern rap lovers and enthusiasts thanks to Kendrick Lamar's latest album of the same name, GNX. That's how influential this muscle car was, so much that it's still being revered today. It makes one wonder, what is it about the Buick GNX? For Kendrick Lamar, the GNX was released in the same year he was born. That's 1987. More so, the night Kendrick was born, his father drove him from the hospital in a Buick Regal, a GNX predecessor. For the symbolic significance, one can guess that the speed, strength, and exclusivity of the GNX is what Kendrick is trying to associate with by naming his album GNX. To understand the legacy of the Buick GNX, it's important to get back to its predecessor, Buick Regal, the legend that set the stage for the monstrosity that is the GNX. We're back in 1973, when the first Buick Regal has just been unveiled. This would mark the start of a line of mid-sized cars that GM marketed as a luxury brand sports car. Nobody would be too surprised, as GM has already sealed their place in the market as coupe masters. When 1981 and 82 came, the car racing world would be in for a ride when the Buick Regal would sweep wins at the NASCARs. Out of 32 races at the NASCARs, the Regal won 22, leaving only 10 as losses. That gap would be halved the next year, 1982, when Regal won 25 out of 30 races at the NASCARs. The victory would spur GM to try new things. They saw that the Regal had potential, so they doubled down to produce something better and hotter. It is said that GM took advice from Rolling Stone and activated a strategy to cash out from the success of the Buick Regal. What did they do? They painted the sloppy car black. They tightened up the suspension, gave it some mean wheels, threw on a spoiler, eventually a turbocharged V6, and then they rolled out a TV commercial with George Thorogood shouting that this new muscle car is bad to the bone. This car is called the Grand National, the model that would walk the path so that GNX can run. By 1986, that car, the Grand National, was making 250 horsepower and beating Corvettes with a V6. Let that sink in, because we're going to come back to it very soon. Then came 1987, a year of interesting partnerships. But forget the tech companies or Wall Street deals. For muscle car fans, the most important partnership was Buick and McLaren. Well, not quite Formula One McLaren, but a sunroof company that owned McLaren's Michigan powertrain shop. Together, they built the GNX, the Grand National Experimental, 276 horsepower. The final form, the Corvette Killer, the Countach Slicer, the Ferrari Dicer, and what made it even more mind-blowing? It cost less than $30,000 back then. I know with the economic situation, $30,000 might not look like much, but it was a big deal then, and is still now to some people. I mean, there are antique vehicles that are not worth more than $10,000. Talk more of 30, but you'll be surprised at just how pricey the GNX has gotten over the years. So, does it live up to the hype? And more importantly, is it worth the $250,000 price tag these things can command today? Let's find out. Hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive video into the world of the Buick GNX, the muscle car that can and did swallow the other supercars from its era, then you should hit that subscribe button and leave a like. You won't want to miss any future videos covering legendary sports cars from the 90s, examining their mind-blowing design and the geniuses behind the scenes. The Buick GNX stands out as one of the most legendary American sports cars ever made. It was only built for 1 year in 1987, and they made just 547 of them. It was the final step and most intense version of the Grand National. Buick teamed up with ASC and McLaren, not the Formula One racing team, but the American powertrain division of McLaren. Together, they created something bold and unforgettable, and they really delivered. Under the hood is a 3.8-liter turbocharged V6 that puts out 276 horsepower and 360 pounds per foot of torque. That might not sound like much today, but in the late 80s, that was serious power. The GNX could go from 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds and run the quarter mile in the low 13s. It was faster than the Corvette at the time. And it did all that with a V6. Even today, car lovers are very surprised by the power of the engine, even for a V6. This wasn't just a Regal with a fancy badge. McLaren helped upgrade the turbo, added a better intercooler, tuned the engine controls, and improved the exhaust system. They also redesigned the rear suspension so it could actually handle the power. This car wasn't just about speed. It was built to put down that power with control. Now the inside might surprise you. It's actually really comfortable. Big soft seats, power everything, and light steering. It feels more like a cruiser than a sports car at first, but the moment you hit the gas, the GNX shows you what it's really about. You'll be taken aback by how easily it blends exotic and performance. This car launches hard, and it sounds incredible. It doesn't sound like a typical V6 at all. It has a deep, growly tone and could easily be mistaken for a V8. Add in the turbo whoosh and blow-off sounds, and it becomes a whole experience. When it comes to handling, it's decent, but not sharp. The GNX is better than the regular Regal thanks to all the upgrades, but it's still built for straight-line speed. This is a car for long roads and drag strips, not twisty mountain drives. Inside, it looks clean and simple. The light gray interior pops against the black exterior. You get GNX-specific gauges that go up to 160 miles per hour, way more than the 85 on the regular Grand National. And every GNX came with its own production number, which made it feel extra special. Sure, it has quirks. The headliner tends to sag. The seatbelts are manual. The mirrors are tiny. But honestly, that just adds to the charm. If you put it side by side with a modern car that costs $250,000, the GNX would lose on features and tech. But that's not what it's about. The GNX is a time capsule. Buick built something that broke the rules. A turbo V6 that outpaced Corvettes and left a mark in car culture. It's not just a car. It's a statement, and for car lovers, that makes it priceless. Beyond the specifications of the car, there's a spectacular story behind the name, Grand National. For 21 years, before NASCAR started letting companies buy the naming rights to its main racing series in 1971, the top championship was called the Grand National. Even after the name changed to the Winston Cup, people still used Grand National out of habit. Fast forward to the early 1980s. A driver named Darrell Waltrip won NASCAR championships in 1981 and 1982, driving a Buick Regal. This racing success gave Buick a boost and helped change how people saw the brand. At that time, Buick had a reputation for making comfortable cars for older people, sometimes jokingly called doctor's cars. But the company manager, Lloyd Royce, wanted Buick to seem exciting and appealing to young drivers. So, in 1982, Buick showed off a special version of the Regal called the Grand National at the Daytona 500, a major NASCAR event. They only built 215 of these cars in the first year. After that, Buick started producing all-black Regal Grand Nationals, which became increasingly powerful. This lineup eventually led to the 1987 GNX, a legendary version of the car. A Buick engineer, Don Runkle, remembered how the team worked on the GNX. One of the lead engineers said their goal was clear. We have to beat the Corvette. That means they wanted the GNX to outperform even Chevrolet's famous sports car. Finally, we've seen the story behind the muscle car that could smoke supercars. This power car from the 1980s came just in time to sparkle the supercar legacy and leave a lasting impression that's unerasable many years later. Taking useful advice, the team built on the success of the Buick Regal and then rolled out the Buick GNX that stole the show and reiterated the supremacy of General Motors in the automotive industry. The GNX was not just a supercar, it was a turbo miracle. Even now, supercar enthusiasts still marvel at the power of the GNX, so much that it's selling for a ridiculously expensive amount in the collector's market. Mostly, it's a rare find, so its pricey nature is expected. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the reasons for the Buick GNX, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more automotive content. Drop your thoughts or questions about the Buick GNX in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next one.